So welcome everyone again to this webinar. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I will not go into much detail about who I am. I'm program manager at FundingBox from over 11 years experience on EU funding. You can find the summary of this profile in my direct link to Spaces. You can reach me there. If you have any doubt after this webinar, please reach me there and I will be glad to chat with you and clarify any doubts that might arise from this webinar. Anyway, we will have this Q&A session of 10 minutes at the end of the presentation. Here you are the agenda. So first of all, I'd like to introduce you who we are. Many of you might already know us, but I'd like to give some words about why we are offering this webinar, why we are talking about these funding opportunities, what we are offering beyond funding, a lot of things that might be interesting for you. And then we will go on to the previous forcing agenda. So we will explain you first which are the FundingBox funding opportunities. We have not only public, but also some private funding opportunities, other funding opportunities, not the only ones that are provided by FundingBox under under our platform, but additional funding opportunities that you can find also in FundingBox, and finally the Q&A session of 10 minutes. Which is our mission and purpose? Maybe you can identify yourself in this photo. If you are entrepreneur, if you are a maker, if you are a doer, you are in a continuous quest for growth. And the growth is like the ring that Frodo is looking for. This is the final aim that each entrepreneur, SME, or a startup has. The ring is like the growth you are willing to reach, or the funding or the support that you are looking for. And we are seeing ourselves as the man that is guiding you. We are like the Gandalf that is helping you in your quest for growth. And this is the reason why our main claim is that we see ourselves as a growth catalyst. This means that we are helping you in your constant guide as an entrepreneur in the quest for growth. And growth is not only funding, it's also the access to a lot of opportunities, knowledge, and connections that we are able to provide through our platform and FundingBox, and naming Spaces, which is our community platform. We are driven by innovation, collaboration, and helping you to get access to all these opportunities with less bureaucracy and access to smarter funding. We are trying to make your life easier to get funding and to get all these type of services that you are looking for in your quest for growth. Where are we located? We are located basically everywhere in Europe. We are telework. We are obviously affected by this COVID-19 outbreak, but not as much because we all telework. But we have several headquarters across Europe. The most relevant are in Spain, in Poland, but we also have offices in the Czech Republic and in Denmark. And this is a summary of our values that are at the end inspiring all the type of services that we are providing. We try to make everything easier for you through an innovative way. We are collaborative. We are providing expert advice. We try to do this in a fresh way, and we are empowering. We help you to empower yourself to get access to all these type of services. This is just a summary of the proof of work. We provide basically three types of services. The first one, which is quite obvious, and is the one on which we base this webinar. Basically, we are experts on open course management and communication. So maybe the left side of this slide is the most relevant for you if you have come to this webinar. But we are also community builders. We provide community building and law hacking services. And on top of that, we provide acceleration services. Here you are a summary of what we are doing and we have done. We have been managing over 175 million euros from the European Commission, mainly under what is named the Cascade funding. I will explain now what does this mean. And most of our funding opportunities are based on this scheme. And across the projects funded by the European Commission, we have been able to manage 25 full life cycle open calls. This is a summary of our background. On community building, basically when we manage an open call, we leverage on the deal flow that we are able to generate into a given open call. So that's why we have been able to attract a lot of innovators. They are coming for the funding and they stay for the connections that we are able to provide them. And that's why nowadays we have over 25,000 innovators in our platform. So we do not only manage open calls, we are also able to leverage on what we are able to create through funding opportunities and create active communities. And here you have the main reference on I4MS, which is basically Industry 4.0, fiber community or connected mobility, impact connected car project. But we have more, and we have created and we are creating many more communities on the basis of the funding opportunities that I will explain you now as well. And on top of that, as I said before, we are also offering acceleration services across these projects. Most of the funding opportunities that I will show you now are based on the Cascade funding scheme. This is a scheme from the European Commission under Horizon 2020 program, also has been applied from the former FP7 program. But anyway, as a summary, this is a mechanism to distribute grants in millions of euros of bulk funding to platforms and accelerators. Where we read platforms and accelerators, basically we are talking about an EU-funded project, but sometimes they have different approach. And in turn, all the partners involved in that project distribute smaller tickets of funding to those scale-ups. This might be scale-ups or other types of beneficiaries that are aligned with an European Commission's innovation strategy. There are like two types of potential projects distributing Cascade funds. These are the pilots and experiments or accelerators. This might be also incubators. There are different names for this type of projects. And in this slide, we basically show it graphically. The European Commission is giving funding to a given project. In this project, there are several beneficiaries. And many times here, the beneficiary is FundingBox. So here you can see ourselves, that is giving this type of services, managing the open calls, distributing the funds, generating and managing the community. And at the end is where you appear. So you have to apply to an open call to get the funds, and you are so named third parties. So you are receiving fundings from the European Commission, but through an intermediary body or intermediary consortium, which is the project that is funded by the European Commission. As I said before, most of the opportunities that I will show you now are based on this scheme and are funded by the European Commission under Horizon 2020, but I will show you others. We are not providing only access to public, but also to private funding and other types of opportunities. Here you are, the opportunities that we are giving from FundingBox. So the open calls that we are managing directly. Nowadays, more to come and others to come in the future, but these are the areas where we are working now. We are talking about robotics, NGR or next generation internet, basically as a summary, all human-centric solutions around the future of internet. We can summarize as such. We are talking about DLT, self-sovereign identity, internet architectures, blockchain, well, a lot of technologies around human-centric solutions. Digital innovation hubs, which is an initiative from the European Commission to favor the digitalization of manufacturing SMEs, and there are many open calls around there. Artificial intelligence, EdTech, construction, manufacturing, a lot of funding opportunities there for many of them based on the digital innovation hub concept, as I said before, energy or smart grids, circular economy, or more broad programs like Impact Poland, which is one program that we are managing from Poland as well for the startups acceleration. So this is the general overview, and I will go now onto a deeper detail on the ongoing and forthcoming opportunities in the short to the mid term. Okay, so here you have an overview, and I will go into a deeper detail now to explain you also which might be the difference between one project or between one program and another. Sometimes we are providing only funding, sometimes this is only public funding, sometimes this is a mix of public and private, sometimes this is only private funding, and in other occasions this might be only support, not only funding. So just to give you an overview of the different opportunities that we may offer. Here I go with the funding opportunities at FundingBox. We start by artificial intelligence. AI for you. This is a very large project with 82 partners covering 21 countries, and we're in charge of managing the open calls from FundingBox here. It's a very large funded project with 20 million euros of funding, but we are not giving direct funding to the beneficiaries here. What we are doing here is to manage an open call for challenges and open calls for solutions. So this means two type of open calls, one for the offer and another one for the demand. We are mixing everyone together, and we are giving to the winners for free services. We are not giving direct funding. So this is just an example. The call for challenges is currently open from February 2020, and we will launch the open call for solutions in the second quarter of this year. So this is just an example of not direct funding, but support services that obviously have a value, but we are not giving funding. For circular economy, we are the coordinators of T-Voucher. This is a program that is aimed at support 66 SMEs in total with 4.2 million euros available in funding. Here, we are providing funding and services. So this is another example. Currently, we are planning to launch what we call an open call for adopters. This means SMEs that are aiming to make use of circular economy solutions that might be already being supported by the program, or they might come from external solutions. But at the end of the day, what we are providing here is funding for a 3-month program that aims at help adopters, SMEs, to incorporate these circular economy solutions. And here we are offering additional support in what we call designers in residence professional services to help you to define your roadmap and integrate these circular economy solutions. On the construction sector, this is another completely different example in the sense that we are not talking about Horizon 2020. We are talking about private funding. This funding is a result of a collaboration between FundingBox and a private actor, a well-established actor in the construction sector in Denmark, one of the countries where we have headquarters, Realdania. And this is private funding where we are giving up to 100,000 euros for each of the 15 projects involved here. We have the call active from February this year and will close by mid-April. And on top of funding, we are giving you also services, access to industry experts, business mentors checking, industry networking, and access to additional experts. So this is another example where we are providing funding plus services, mentoring, and through private funding, not public funding. On educational technology, one project that we are managing now is IMPACT EdTech. The first call is expected to be launched in April 2020. Here we are coming back to public funding. This is a new EU-funded project under Horizon 2020. And here we have another type of example where we are giving money in different stages. We are giving up to close to 200,000 euros into a first stage for MVP testing with given funding. And here we apply what is called a funnel approach. So for this first stage, we will have 21 startups, and we have a second stage where the best will get access to a proof of market stage with additional funding. And here we will select only 11 companies to pass to the next stage. So this is another example with public funding, with different stage, one single instrument of funding, and under a funnel approach. So another example. On the next generation internet, we are currently managing two open calls. The first one is the Seed Lab that aims at helping on the adoption of self-sovereign identity technologies. And here we have two types of instruments, two types of open calls. The first one is the so-named infrastructure-oriented open call, which is more technical, let's say, and we are giving up to 155,000 euros. And here we accept a broad type of applicants. We are accepting not only SMEs, startups, but also NGOs, research centers, even individuals to get funding. And we have a second type of open call, which is business oriented, which is focused on providing support to SMEs and startups with similar but different funding. The funding can be up to 106,000 euros. So another project focused on a different technology with two types of instruments and two different types of targets to receive support. Another opportunity under next generation internet is NGI Pointer. We will launch soon, by the next week, hopefully, a continuous open call with two different cutoff dates. This means that the call will be running from now till June 2020 as the first cutoff date, and we will have another cutoff date in June 2021. And here we are giving up to 200,000 euros per project. One single instrument, not different types of targeted applicants. And the applicants here are basically people, what we call NGI architects. These might be individuals, SMEs, startups, researchers, developers, hackers, internet activists, under areas that are aimed at what we call shaping the future of internet architecture. This might sound like quite abstract, but here you are the application areas, the examples of what we are looking for. Solutions on privacy by design, Internet of Things, network optimization, virtualization, TCP/IP, e-commerce security. Well, here you are some of the samples of the type of areas that we are looking for. Another example of a broader program, not specifically focused on one area, but with different verticals. And this is Impact Poland. This is a part public, part private funding. And the selected startups, most of them must be based in Poland. We are giving up to 200,000 zloty, not euros. And companies from outside Poland might participate under given conditions. So this is another example of a broader program. It's currently open till April 2020. Another example of paid funding, and this is again a result of a collaboration between FundingBox and another private actor, which is Automatica. Automatica is one of the major events for advanced manufacturing in Europe. It's based in Germany. And here we are not giving direct funding. We are giving access to connections, and we are also given to the winners an exhibitor fee for a startup that has a value, obviously, of over 1,400 euros. This is another example of open call. Private open call, we are not giving you direct funding, but access to connections, access to a support that has a value, exhibitor fee, and additionally, we are giving you access to a pitching competition where you can get access to investors, the media, potential partners, and talent. And the call is currently running till the 24th of April this year. This is just another example. On manufacturing for Industry 4.0, we have TETRAMAX that has two types of open calls. One is for bilateral technology transfer experiments that might also sound like quite abstract, but we are talking about technologies related to low energy computing solutions as a summary. And here we are financial support basically of 20,000 to 50,000 euros per transfer experiment. And we are also giving services, but these services are based on tech transfer, basically. Another type of instrument within the same project. So as I said before, we might give support in different ways through a given project. And this is another entrepreneurial technology transfer experiment. This is also for tech transfer, but or on more close to market types of projects. Here the financial support is lower. Sorry, I was hearing someone. I asked you to mute your phone, sorry.
It would be really great if they could also provide us.
Sorry, I could not hear you well. So if you have any question, please go through the chat, okay? Thank you. I was explaining the TETRAMAX entrepreneurial technology transfer experiments. As I said before, is within the same project with lower financial support and with a similar deadline, also by April this year. Another type of project, which is quite specific, this is for the welding sector. WeldGalaxy open calls that is running till 29th of May this year, and we are calling any type of innovators in welding. And here we are again talking about EU funding, Horizon 2020 funding, with 2.5 million euros available and up to 100,000 euros per project. And together with the funding, again, we are providing additional services, helping to shape your product, customer feedback, scalability assessment, information about the standards and regulatory compliance for this specific sector. Smart for All, it's another project, and here we are giving up to 2.2 million euros via a lot of open calls, 9 open calls, and giving up to 80,000 euros per project, per experiment. So this is another example with lots of open calls, with lots of different open calls all along the project from now till 2022. I have talked to you until now about funding opportunities managed by FundingBox and funding opportunities, forthcoming funding opportunities in the short to mid term. Now I will go into detail for all the funding opportunities. Here you can see the logo of FundingBox on 3 specific opportunities, but I have not shown them before because they are not for the short, neither the midterm. But on top of this, you can see a huge number of opportunities that we are not managing directly by FundingBox, but you can find them in our platform. We have a collection which is named Funding for Growth into our Spaces community platform, and you can find these funding opportunities. And you can find additional funding opportunities across our partners networks as well. So here you are again a sort of distribution between different areas again. So we are coming back to robotics, again other next generation internet opportunities, agri-food, manufacturing, DLT blockchain, smart homes or smart grids, again, biosensing, healthy aging, art tech, or circular economy. And here I will show you, because you can see that the list is quite huge, just one example of one collaborator company, which is P&O on circular economy, which is another example that you can also find in FundingBox. It's BioVoice, which is provided by P&O. This is a program for open innovation challenges. And here, this consultancy company is providing support under 9 circular and bio-based innovation challenges. And the final reward here is to receive support for a pilot project under these areas, together with the funding of through a voucher, not a lump sum, not a typical lump sum that is provided through equity-free funding. This is also equity-free, but vouchers to be spent, in this case, in the regional ecosystem. So here you are, the contact details. Something that has been said through the chat is that you will have the presentation and the webinar information available afterwards, so you can get access to the contact details if you are interested, not only in this particular opportunity, but in all the other opportunities that we are showing here. And on top of cascade funds, private funds, other types of public funds, there are some obvious, at least for us, funding opportunities for SMEs and startups that all of you should know. And most of you could have already checked this Horizon 2020 EIC Accelerator funding opportunity. This is the former SME instrument. This is a EU funding that you have to get access through the participant portal, not through FundingBox, neither through other portals, but through the participant portal of Horizon 2020. And basically, the European Commission is looking for SMEs and startups that are willing to scale and willing for a growth in the short to mid-term around a feasibility business strategy under a given innovative solution, but which is aiming to scale in the mid to the short term. So this is a summary, and we have several cutoff dates. Let's see what happens with these cutoff dates, because the last one was delayed due to this COVID-19 outbreak, but by the moment the stated forthcoming cutoff dates are on May and October. Please be aware that the competitiveness is quite high. Maybe many of you have already applied and you have experienced this low success rate. As an average is just 5% because it is highly competitive. And the most newly feature of this EIC Accelerator versus the former SME instrument is that you can get access to a grant or a grant together with a blended finance. This means also investment from third parties, not only get access to the grant that is provided by Horizon 2020. Another type of instrument that is not so well known is the EIC Fast Track to Innovation program. Here the approach is quite similar to EIC Accelerator, but the difference is that the European Commission is looking for consortia. So they are looking for an innovation project starting again from a high TRL 6 or over, for solutions that are willing to scale in the short to mid term. And the consortium must comprise 3 to 5 entities that have to be from at least 3 eligible countries. So at the end of the day, that's not the same, but we could say that this is with a different approach, a consortia SME instrument EIC Accelerator type of program. This is just a summary. This is not exactly that, because they are looking for an industry involvement with at least 60% of the budget, but we could visualize as such in a summary. And where to find this funding? Where can I find all this information? Here you are the links. For general funding, you can get access to the tender portal for competitive calls and for other third parties open calls in that link, and the FundingBox website here, where you can get access to the collection of funding. If you want to get access to all this additional funding, for you to know, I will shortly explain you the services that we are able to provide you through to get access to this additional funding. For you to know, we are a company that is like let's say a spin-off of a former consultancy company, not a former, they are still existing. It's a Connect Consultants, and this is our expertise on new funding. Connect Consultants has over 25 years of experience with over 3,000 projects won across all its history, and we have got over 1.3 billion euros for our clients and their partners. And this is the services that our parent or broader consultancy company Econet Consultants can offer you. We can help you with in-house training sessions. For you to know, we have a very high success rate in applications to EU programs, 40%, and we can support also in administrative and financial management of projects, not only Horizon 2020, other types of EU funding projects. So this is the background of Econet Consultants. So basically, we provide three types of services. One is the grant discount. We can help you to analyze the priorities and interests that you have, identify funding opportunities, and we, at the end of the day, deliver you a 12-month action plan to help you to grab funding from the EU sources, not only Horizon 2020. The next step will be the support for application writing. We can help you to refine your idea, identify the consortium you need, suggest potential partner profiles, and write your proposal accordingly to the program guidelines. And finally, the compliance, which is basically to set up all the management process from a given project. You already have a project and you need support in reporting, audit trail, financial reports, help desk, and we can also provide you in-house training. This is the contact of my colleague Nuno. So you can reach him via email, and you have a description of more detailed description of these services in this collection at FundingBox community. This is all from my side. I think we are on time, and we are opening the Q&A session now. So I will stop recording from now. Thank you very much for your time, and I will try to replay all the questions that have